Developing story out of Los Angeles we're following. LeBron James, he practiced with the G League South Bay Lakers again on Thursday, and here is the big news. Everyone was waiting for this. He had no residual effects from Wednesday's practice. That was his first full-speed 5-on-5 since his sciatica diagnosis. Remember, that nerve pain on his right side. Since LeBron is getting closer and closer to joining the Lakers, let's check in with our senior writer, Dave McMenamin. Dave, what more can you tell us about LeBron's rehab with this G League team?
Yeah, Malika, as big as the news was on Wednesday that LeBron played 5-on-5 for the first time in nearly 6 months since the playoffs against Minnesota, Thursday was even bigger because he was able to get through the practice, I'm told by multiple sources, and he was a full participant. They did 5-on-5 drills. He was able to move without any lingering pain in his lower back or his right side. And obviously, you know, he is now in the mode of, if he continues to have this progression, he could get a practice with the Lakers on Monday when they return off this 5-game road trip. And then there's a game on Tuesday. I mean, we're in the timing now where we can be looking at the schedule next week and say, hey, that could be the game where we see LeBron James making his season debut, which will be making some history. The only player in league history to have played 23 seasons the moment he steps on the court to begin this season.
And could that history be made as soon as Tuesday against the Utah Jazz? It's a question that we're going to be following. And the Lakers, they need him back badly because they are coming off their worst game of the season against the Thunder on Wednesday. I don't even know if we can call him a game. That was a beatdown. So what's being said of tonight's NBA Cup game against the New Orleans Pelicans?
Yeah, it was a trouncing. And Jared Vanderbilt said it actually was easy to dismiss that one. He said the game tape, when you watch, when you lose by 30, you kind of just give in to it and you recognize that there's a lot that needs to be done. And earlier in the season, the kind of Achilles heel for this Lakers team was the third quarter. But on this road trip, it's been the first quarter. They didn't look good from the very start against the Atlanta Hawks, and the same thing was against Oklahoma City Thunder. And DeAndre Ayton said, we need to play with the requisite force from the very beginning. Vando added that, hey, this is an NBA Cup game tonight. We performed well in the past. I don't know what it is about it, but we seem to bring our A game to these types of competitions. So look for an improved Lakers team to try to get back on track tonight in New Orleans.
Right, and this New Orleans team hasn't exactly been a juggernaut of the NBA so far this year. But again, these are the games that you really have to dial into because it's easy for them to fall into those trap games. Dave McMenamin, thank you so very much. You mentioned the Lakers schedule. Let's just take a look at it together. Yeah, it really eases up through the rest of November. Look at this. They have 7 games left. Only one of them is against a team that has a winning record. That's the final game of this road trip. That's this weekend against the Milwaukee Bucks. So Brian Windhorst is here. Kendrick Perkins is here. Kirk Sweater is joining us in studio as well today. Brian, I'm going to start with you here. The Lakers, what form of LeBron James do they need to come back to this team?
It would be amazing if they could get second-team All-NBA LeBron, but even if he's not that coming out of the gate, and I don't think we should expect that, the Lakers need a little bit of assistance, a little bit of margin for error. And the reason I say this, they're 8-4, which is great. Considering what they've gone through early in the season, to be 8-4 is tremendous. If you look at their defensive rankings, they're in the bottom 10. They're down there with the Charlotte Hornets, with the Utah Jazz, with a bunch of other losing teams. You look at their net rating, which is a little bit more complicated, but, you know, and definitely was affected by that blowout loss the other night. They're, again, down in the bottom 10. They have a net rating of a team that should have a losing record. And yet they're 8-4. That's great, but it also means that maybe they're cheating it a little bit. And yeah, their schedule eases up, but you can't continue to play this level of basketball and skate this close and think that you're going to continue to play this level of winning. That's why LeBron comes back. He brings margin for error. That is the entire thing he can do. It might take him a few weeks to get into that, but the Lakers have weathered this with it brilliantly with all the injuries, including to Luka and to Austin Reeves. They're in good position to bring LeBron back and then try to take off.
I mean, look, I believe, you know, once LeBron comes back, we know his IQ for the game of basketball is going to help any team, especially this Laker team, right? And I get the net ratings. You know, I don't get caught up in the numbers. I don't like to look at numbers and do all that. I don't even like to read, okay? But I do like to watch. And what I'm seeing is that a lot of GMs voted Rob Pelinka as the worst GM in the league. Right, on a GM poll or whatever.
I don't think they said it quite that way.
Well, you know, I got to be harsh.
They didn't love the offseason.
But what I will say is this.
You wake up on the wrong side of the bed today?
But what I will say is this. LeBron James has proven that he will buy into any role long as the results are winning. And when I look at their depth, I'm looking at Rui Hachimura have a career year averaging 16 points. shooting over 40 from 3, 50 from the field. I'm looking at Marcus Smart, second in the league in steals right now. They have the depth. Now you add a LeBron James who, you know, you could play him in any position. I'm waiting to see him at the forward position in the pick and roll with Luka Doncic. So, again, yes, LeBron is going to put them there, but here's my question to you, Tim. When you look at the Western Conference, how many teams can you actually say that are that much better than the Los Angeles Lakers besides OKC and Denver?
I'd say those two for sure,
Yeah.
and probably Houston at their best. I'd probably give them the edge too, but that's a great point. I think what happened to them the other night in Oklahoma City.
We're trauma bonded over there.
Yeah, a little bit, because we got a chance to hang out with the Lakers before the game a little bit, talk to JJ. You could tell there was a very, almost a giddy confidence. Like, hey, let's see what this Oklahoma City defense has for us, because we're playing so well offensively. And two guys that were rolling the way Luka and Austin Reeves were, dominating paint touches off the dribble. And that was cold water dumped in their face. Okay, and I understand it's the best defensive team in the league. I get that. But here's where I noticed it. They were not able to penetrate the outer shell at all. And LeBron James is going to penetrate that. Even some of the early stuff when LeBron's coming up the floor, he can split two guys. Right. You could see Luka doesn't play fast enough to do that early. Austin Reeves isn't strong enough. LeBron can penetrate a shell like that to break them down, to create more paint points, because that was a totally different style and number that they were used to on Wednesday night. And I think now getting LeBron back solves some of that.
All season long, you have had one of the best seats in the house at NBA games. It's been so fun to watch you and hear you on the calls. But I'm curious if you can give us a little bit of that Tim Legler vision now that you're here in studio. Your top takeaways from being courtside for all of these games.
Well, I think first just the individual offensive eruptions, and from a team standpoint as well. Here early in the year, 5 guys already top 50 points. And I think a big part of it is the free throws. And take a look at this. Malika, last year, the Denver Nuggets led the league in free throw attempts per game at 23. This year, 24 teams are taking more than the league leader last year. So the whistle's been favorable, and I say that because it's played into a lot of these big scoring nights individually for guys. And look, you expect Shea to do it, and we called that game 55. And you expect Jokic to do it. He had 55.
Sure.
But then you get guys like Lauri Markkanen and Aaron Gordon and Austin Reeves doing it as well. So right now, the offense absolutely at a premium. Guys taking advantage of the whistle a little bit.
Okay, that's one.
Second thing for me, Austin Reeves going to get that money. He's going to get that money, man. And look, I know he struggled against Oklahoma City, but a lot of guys are going to do that. But take a look at what he has done this year. And for me, it was the Minnesota game that stood out more than any, because Luka didn't play. We know LeBron is sidelined. 28 points, 16 assists. He completely controlled the game against a team with some elite perimeter defenders, and hit the buzzer beater when everybody in the building knew that he was going to take the last shot. He's made himself a ton of money. A max player, Austin Reeves has turned himself into. And then the last thing, the Oklahoma City Thunder coming out of the gate the way that they have. Look, if it wasn't for blowing a 20-point lead against Portland, they're undefeated.
Without all their guys.
They're undefeated, and they're shorthanded. Their depth is almost unfair. And now look what's happened here at the start of the year. A guy like A.J. Mitchell has emerged, taking advantage of this extra opportunity for minutes with Jalen Williams sideline. But they did that the other night to the Lakers. We've been talking about it without Lou Dort, a first-team all-defensive player, and without Jalen Williams, one of the best defenders in the league. So this is rare for a champion to start that following year the way that Oklahoma City has, just incredibly dominant.
Tim, let's talk about the Sixers side of all of this first. What is the latest you can tell us on Joel Embiid's status?
Yeah, as you just laid out there, Malika, we'll see if the league-leading Pistons have Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren tonight, but the Sixers will not have either Joel Embiid or Paul George. As you see there on the screen, Embiid is going to miss his 3rd straight game with right knee soreness tonight against Detroit. You know, earlier this week, the Sixers said he's day-to-day with soreness in that knee, and there's no structural issues with it. Now, remember, this is the other knee from the one that's given Embiid problems the last couple of years, so it initially popped up that the other knee was giving him problems. There was some concern that this could potentially be some longer-term thing. Does not appear, though, that it will be, so hopefully he is back for the Sixers sometime next week. And the same could be said for Paul George. He still needs another week to strengthen that left leg, that left quad after he had off-season knee surgery. He's yet to play this season. He's going to get reevaluated next week, and potentially the Sixers could have both of their max players on the court sometime soon, along with Tyrese Maxey, who, as you said earlier, has had a great start to the season, is up near the league leaders in scoring. Yeah, the Sixers have had a much better start to their season and been able to stay afloat without their two main guys. It's a very different story than what we saw last year. Let's stick in the East here, Tim, because the Knicks, they're hosting the Heat tonight. It's in group play. What more can you tell us about how New York is approaching Jalen Brunson's ankle injury here? How much time is he going to miss? Well, as Sham said yesterday, as you can see there on the screen, he's going to be evaluated day to day going forward. And there's definitely some concern. You see here when Jalen got hurt the other night against Orlando, he left the arena with a walking boot on. And remember, this is the same ankle that cost Jalen Brunson 15 games last season and looked like it gave him some issues at times during the playoffs, although he was able to play through the Knicks' run to the conference finals and obviously had a great postseason. But Malika, Jalen Brunson, obviously, it goes without saying, is a gigantic part of what the Knicks do. When he is on the court, the Knicks have an offensive rating of 123. That would be first in the NBA, and their third-ranked overall offense in the league because of that. But when he's off the court, Malika, rating drops to 110. That's 25th. Same rating as the Sacramento Kings. So that is a significant gap, obviously, and something we'll see if the Knicks can bridge tonight when they begin this stretch without Jalen Brunson against the Miami Heat at the Garden.
What are you trying to say about the Kings, Tim? Just kidding. Thank you so much for stopping by NBA Today. The Knicks will, though, they're going to have to lean on their experience without Brunson to get through this next stretch of games. The Knicks showed last season they were up to the task. They went 11-6 in games without their all-NBA point guard. So, Brian, this stretch without Brunson, what's it going to tell us about these New York Knicks?
Yeah, so with this new offense with Mike Brown, they have really activated Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby. Their offense is way more a part of what they're doing, so that's really good. The thing is, even though Jalen Brunson's usage rate or his minutes have gone down a little bit, his usage rate is up. They're relying on him as much as ever. So, look, they do have Miles McBride. Tyler Kolek has gone from not being a factor at all to having some moments, so they're going to lean on their backups here, but they're also going to lean on their highly paid wing players that they're going to need more offensive creation out of.
Right, and one of those, OG Anunoby, we saw have to have a huge role when Jalen Brunson was out last season, Legs. What exactly could that look like here?
Yeah, here's why it's going to be important for OG Anunoby to dial it back to what he did last year, second half of the year. He had a 6-week stretch where he averaged over 23 points a game when they had guys out. And how did he do it? He took advantage of early driving opportunities, more so than he would if Brunson's on the floor. And this is a good push here by McBride. I love this. But here's where Anunoby is so good. You're going to see him start to come into the picture right here on the trail. He is so good at attacking closeout defenders. And you don't see him do this as much if Brunson's on the floor because they're going to get into a half-court set. When he catches this ball, he's going to put his head down and he's going to attack this big right here. And when he's really rolling and aggressive, he doesn't even have regard right here for the back two defenders. He doesn't care. He's got one thing on his mind right now. He's going to get past one, and then he's going to step through two more and get to the rim because of the aggressive scoring mindset. The other area that I think you're going to see him take advantage of as long as Brunson's out, the early throw ahead. It doesn't happen as much when Brunson's on the floor, but here's an example. He catches the basketball right here on the wing, and actually, if you look at the defense, they're in pretty good position, right? 4 guys ahead of the ball and a 5th over here. But OG Anunoby recognizes that the big is going to be lifted as he starts to put it down. Here's the only shot blocking presence on the floor. Anunoby knows he can just overpower the defender, get to them. Now watch this, the best part's at the end. He misses. Watch the athleticism, the second jump. He beats everybody to the ball, gets his own putback. So I think you're going to see Anunoby be much more aggressive early in possessions with his driving ability because he can overwhelm guys physically.
And that's what we saw last year when Jalen Brunson was out. That's a perfect example. But Karl-Anthony Towns, Perk, he looks more comfortable maybe in this new Knicks offense now that he has a couple more games under his belt under Mike Brown's system.
He do? I mean, you said that this system activated who?
Bridges and Anunoby.
Well, it seemed like it deactivated Karl-Anthony Towns because his points are down right now. And I'm looking at this league and what it takes to win a title, especially with Brunson being out. The most important position in the league is the big man position, center or power forward. So I'm looking at Karl-Anthony Towns, and this is his moment to show why he's one of the most skilled big to ever play the game of basketball and show his engagement. And when I say his engagement, being locked in, not just on the offensive end, but on both ends of the floor, defensively as well. I ain't gonna look at the game that they lost to, that last game that they lost to Orlando, but the game before that, 3 steals, 2 blocks. Like, they need him to be consistently good on both ends of the floor, and now he needs to take his play up to Giannis-type numbers, in my opinion, and he could do it.
It seems like they're trying to play him almost in like a Sabonis type of role, Brian.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that Carl has not done before, and that was one of the things that he wasn't sure. But I will say this, Mike Brown's offense worked in Sacramento. It turned them into a turbocharged offense.
Well, as Tim just laid out, their offense
working
is so
in
now.
Cleveland. So, I mean, in New York. So some of it is the player trusting the coach.
But look, let me say this. For a big man, you like to feel good. right?
Didn't they used to say they ran the first play for you?
All the time,
Yeah.
all the time. But I wouldn't call Anthony Towns, and we know Carl Anthony Towns is an emotional guy, right? I got a ring, he don't. So Carl Anthony Towns is an emotional guy, but sometimes you have to stroke their ego a little bit, right? And you have to feed them to get the best on the defensive side of things, though.
He's got a $200 million contract.
He's trying to look for extension, too.